This is the best tasting steak that I've ever been able to make inside my house. It is a ribeye cooked in the pan, then sliced and served with a board dressing. I like ribeye because it's got two different tastes and textures in one steak. It's got the eye muscle here and then the cat muscle here, which is like the best piece of meat on the cow. It tastes like brisket, except it's tender. People don't like ribeye because it has all this fat and sinew in between the two muscles, but with my method, not only are we not going to eat any of that gross stuff, it's not even going to make it to the plate. So the first thing that we do is dress the board where we're going to carve the steak later. I like a little bit of lime juice because it brightens the steak without adding a lot of distracting flavor like lemon or vinegar would. Then I like some herb. I like rosemary with beef. Just chop that up right on the board. Then you want to add some fat, just like it was a salad dressing. I like butter, though olive oil is very nice too. We're going to roast the steak in butter, but this butter on the board is going to stay raw, so it'll keep that fresh, milky flavor. Then pepper, tons and tons of pepper. I put pepper on the board rather than on the steak because I don't want it to get cooked. Pepper is hotter, it's more pungent when it's raw. Then put on some salt, not that much salt because I like to put some finishing salt on the final plate later. Put a little vegetable oil on the steak because that won't burn, and then I actually do put a little bit more pepper on the steak as well because I like having some of that roasted taste of cooked pepper in the final dish. You rub it all down, and then you put the steak into a pan on high heat, press it into the pan so that it makes full contact, and then cook it until it is brown on the first side. Take a peek, it's almost there. Then you flip it, and then you brown the other side for a minute or so, and then you put in a bunch of butter and a couple of garlic cloves just to flavor the butter. You grab a spoon and you baste the steak while it finishes cooking. When it's feeling medium rare, that's soft but with a bounce, you pull the steak out and you put it onto your board dressing. Spoon a little bit of that garlicky browned butter over the top. Then loosely cover it with foil and rest it for a few minutes. The heat of the steak will melt that raw butter underneath it, and it will slightly cook that rosemary, softening it up. Now here is my big secret. While the steak is resting, I microwave my plate. You can do this with any ceramic plate. I do it for a full minute, which makes the plate really hot. Hot plates are a secret of the restaurant business. It's how they're able to serve you a well-rested and thinly sliced piece of meat that then stays hot while you're eating it. And we are going to thinly slice our steak before we eat it. So after the steak has rested for a few minutes, take the foil off, but keep it to hold your scrap. Then what I do is cut off the cat muscle, which on this particular steak was already weirdly detached. And then I bend it out straight on the board, and I just shave that line of fat and connective tissue off the edge. Turn it around, shave off the other side. Then I take the eye meat and I shave off around all the edges. It's all just gross sinew and unrendered fat that no one is going to eat anyway. Actually, this scrap right here is what your dog can eat while you're having your dinner. She will love you for it. Perfect for the dog. Then I slice the eye meat down the middle lengthwise and then turn 90 degrees and slice it down into these little bite-sized chunks. Likewise, I grab the cat meat and just slice that down into chunks. Now here's where the magic happens. You grab the steak and just toss it in itself. Toss it in all the juices that have poured out, all of that roasted butter from the pan, the melted raw butter from the board dressing, the lime juice, the salt, the pepper. Every piece is just going to get soaked in that sauce. I just pile it onto my microwaved plate, which is actually hot enough now to reheat the steak if it's gone cold in the slicing process. Then you want to scrape those board juices on. Do not make a mess like I did here because I was distracted looking at the camera. Clean up that plate a little bit there. Then I like a super coarse finishing salt. I like this black volcanic sea salt because it looks cool. Finishing salts just make the eating experience more interesting because the food is less homogeneous. You get these little sparks of salt instead of uniform saltiness. And so there you go. That's my ribeye with board dressing. It makes even a super cheap grocery store steak like this one taste amazing. And no, it's not good for you, but it's a steak. What are you expecting?